For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mike, and I've been day trading and investing in the stock market for over a decade. I'm also a private pilot and have traveled extensively over the years, totaling over 50 countries. My major in aeronautical science has opened my eyes to the operation of the airline and the system, and actually how to crack that system to get the lowest fares possible. I created this YouTube channel to talk about the stock market. Obviously, I want to start this new series on travel hacks, which I think will help a lot of you guys get lower fares and travel for free. Actually, there's a lot of ways you can travel for free, so I'll talk all about that. And also other aviation related topics. You know, I'm a pilot and I like to talk about this stuff. It's my second biggest passion behind the market. Obviously, you know, I love finance, I love aviation, and I love traveling. So I want to talk about all of that stuff on this new channel. So I hope you guys enjoy. I'm a bit of a boomer when it comes to technology, so I hope that my lack of editing is made up for in the quality of the content. Okay, so this is the first episode of my new series, Travel with Mike. Thanks for joining. And today I'm just going to talk about something really basic quickly, and I'll break each chapter down. Okay, so these aren't going to be long videos. I'm going to break them all down so it's not too much content for one time, for one sitting, right? You guys will be able to watch these quickly. So there's different things we have to look at when we're looking at how to get the best rates possible and how to fly for free, okay? Kayak.com is a great website. I'll break that website down later. Hub-to-hub routing is key. That's what I'm talking about today, okay? So I want to explain to you guys how the airline system works and how to get those cheapest flights. Major hubs, mileage accounts, and airline loyalty. These are all really key elements in getting those lowest fares possible and flying for free. So hub-to-hub routing, what is that? Every airline has major hubs or bases, which are essentially areas of headquarters where they operate large amounts of flight traffic. You can find cheaper and more direct flights if you fly out of an airline's hub, especially if you are flying to another major hub. Okay, so there's the three main carriers, right? We have Delta, American, United. We also have low-cost carriers. We have Spirit, Frontier, JetBlue, Allegiant, okay? And then there's some smaller regional airlines out there as well, but those are the main ones that I'll be talking about today. So you need to find which airline, you need to fly with that specific airline based on where you live, okay? So if you live in any of these cities, then you need to be focusing on the airline that flies out of those cities, okay? Because if you stick to one airline, you're going to gain status for one, and status gives you crazy benefits like free checked bags and priority boarding. There's a ton of benefits and perks that come with getting status with a specific airline. Okay, it doesn't make sense to try to fly a different airline every time. It may be cheaper in the short term, but you have to look at the long-term benefits of getting that airline loyalty. Okay, so if you live in Atlanta, you're flying Delta, no questions asked. Salt Lake City, you're flying Delta. Minneapolis, you're flying Delta. Detroit, you're flying Delta, okay? These are Delta hubs. They're major hubs. There's thousands of direct flights daily on Delta out of these hubs, okay? So it's really important to focus on that airline loyalty if you live next to one of these Delta hubs, okay? I live in Chicago. I used to fly Delta all the time, okay? But I don't anymore because I live in Chicago. There's not a big hub, there's no hub really for Delta in Chicago. There are flights, but I'm always going to be connecting. If I fly Delta out of Chicago, I'll be connecting in Atlanta, Detroit, Minneapolis, or New York every time. And I don't want to deal with that, okay? When you start dealing with connections, you can miss your flight, right? You can have a misconnection that you can deal with losing your bag, okay? These are all risks that you take when you buy a flight with a connection. I don't like to do that. So I book direct flights. I live in Chicago. I fly American. Now, United also has a really big hub in Chicago, but I like American routes better, okay? So look at the route map. Decide where do you travel, okay? What kind of traveling do you do? And then where's the city that has the airline with the major hub, okay? And if you live in any of these big cities, you're flying Delta. United, okay? United has major hubs in Chicago, Denver, San Fran, Houston, Newark, DC, Orlando. Okay, if you live in Denver, you better fly United Or if you want to go with a low cost carrier, Frontier is the low cost carrier with the big hub in Denver. Okay, so if you live in Denver, you are flying Chicago. You're flying United or Frontier. Okay, Chicago is also a great hub for United. I do have loyalty with United, but I mostly fly American. I have an account, a mileage account with United, but I mostly fly American because, again, I get those status perks every time I fly American. Every time I use my credit card, I get the mileage for that airline, and I can actually fly for free by stacking those miles. Okay, so you live next to any of these cities, try to focus on United. Go to their website, start the mileage account, and it builds. Every time you spend money on a credit card, every time you fly with United, you're going to gain that mileage, and you're also going to gain status. Okay, American major hubs, there's a lot. Phoenix is a big one. Miami is huge. If you live in Miami, American does a ton of routes to the Caribbean and to South America, Central America, so I highly recommend flying American if you live in Miami. Dallas is a major hub for American. Charlotte and Philly are also huge hubs. And then Chicago. Okay, so Chicago, O'Hare. That's why I fly American, because I do a lot of flying to South Florida, to New York, and there's a ton of routes from Chicago to New York and South Florida on American. Okay, LA is a big hub. New York, LaGuardia and JFK, and then DCA is another one. Philly is a big hub for American, and Charlotte as well. So if you live next to any of these cities, try to focus your loyalty on American. Allegiant. So this is a low-cost carrier. I don't fly Allegiant, but if you want to fly, if you find yourself going to smaller cities, Allegiant goes into a lot of those untapped markets that the major airlines won't fly into because there's not enough demand. Okay, so if you're flying to like these mountain towns in North Carolina, or if you're going up to Maine or whatever, Massachusetts, North Dakota, if you're going to these random states, then look at flying Allegiant, especially if you live out of one of these places. So Allegiant does a ton of flying out of Orlando, Sanford Airport, okay? Tampa, St. Pete, Phoenix, Las Vegas is a huge hub for Allegiant, okay? So if you're in Las Vegas and you want to fly a low-cost carrier, go with Allegiant, okay? But again, it goes to these really small places. And Allegiant is also a low-cost carrier. So with low-cost carriers, you'll be paying for bags, you'll be paying for your seat, okay? Unless you open a credit card with them, you open a credit card, do the loyalty. So each airline is going to have that loyalty program, and you get those great perks and benefits as long as you sign up with the loyalty program and you open a credit card with that airline, okay? Spirit, all right, so Spirit again is a low-cost carrier. Atlantic City, Chicago, Dallas, Detroit, Fort Lauderdale is a huge hub for them. Orlando is a huge hub. If you live in Florida and you want to fly to South America, Central America, the Caribbean, Spirit may be your cheapest option. Okay, Spirit does a lot of really cheap flights. When I was in college, I flew Spirit for $34 from Orlando to New Orleans. I also flew them Orlando to Bogota for under $100. Okay, so if you want to fly on a low-cost carrier and not pay very much, Spirit is an option, especially if you live in Florida. They do a lot of Florida flying. Okay. Frontier, Denver. Like I said, Denver is their biggest hub. I think that's where their headquarters are. All right. So if you're flying out of Denver, United or Frontier, those are your only options. Not your only options, but you have to choose one of those. Okay. If you want to get the best bang for your buck. All right. So Denver, Chicago, Vegas, LA, Minneapolis, Orlando. Orlando is a huge hub for Frontier as well. There's a lot of low-cost carriers coming out of Orlando and Fort Lauderdale. So if you live in those places, you want to get the cheapest flights, it's probably going to be on Frontier or Spirit or JetBlue, right? JetBlue. If you live in Boston, you better fly JetBlue. Boston is the king. JetBlue is the king of Boston, right? Or Boston is the king of JetBlue. They have crazy routes from Boston. You can fly all over the Caribbean. You can fly to South America. They do Boston to transcontinental over to California. And they actually have this new Mint class opened a couple of years ago. And it's an A320, but it's a beautiful business class private suite on their A320. It's called Mint class. So if you do any of the longer routes like Boston to LA, I think I did New York to Vegas and I went in Mint class, and it's amazing. All right, it's better than any other domestic first class possible. It's really beautiful. Check it out, JetBlue Mint class. All right, San Juan, they have another hub in San Juan. So if you are living in Puerto Rico for tax benefits or whatever, then I would look at flying JetBlue. Okay, a lot of great Caribbean hubs, a lot of great Caribbean routes. I mean, so definitely look at JetBlue if you're into any of that, and if you live in Boston or New York, JFK, they have a huge hub in JFK as well. Okay. Southwest, I don't really fly Southwest. I used to many years ago. They actually just got rid of their free 2-check bags, so that is going away this year. That was a big reason why a lot of people flew Southwest, is because you bought a ticket, you got 2 free check bags. They're getting rid of that. I think Frontier is actually going to start doing that as a hook at Southwest, right? So I would not recommend Southwest really. You know, sometimes they have cheaper prices, but honestly, I don't really notice the difference between Southwest pricing and American or Delta or United. Usually it's about the same, right? And now that they don't even have any benefits, there's no assigned seating, right? It's just wherever you want to sit, you can sit on the plane. And now they don't have the 2 free check bags. I don't know, what's the point, okay? Now they do have some good routes. They do a lot of flying into the Caribbean, San Juan, into this area, Central America. But I'm not a big fan of Southwest. If you are, totally cool. If you live next to any of these cities, you can fly Southwest. They do have some good routes. Midway is another one. All right, so select your loyalty airline based on which hub you live closest to. Feel free to travel on multiple airlines, but again, if you live in Atlanta, become a frequent flyer with Delta. You live in South Florida, become a frequent flyer with American, JetBlue, or Spirit. So pick your airline based on where you live, and then stick with that airline. Stick with that loyalty. That way you're collecting status, you're collecting miles, and you can eventually fly for free on these airlines once you have enough miles stacked, right? So what I do with American, for example, I open 2 credit cards with American, and I also have the mileage account. So anytime I fly American, anytime I spend money with the credit cards, I stack the miles, and it's really cheap. So I'll show you guys later on more, like on the American Airlines website, how you can redeem the miles. You know, I was just looking today. You could redeem a trip from Chicago to Greece for 27,000 miles, which is nothing. That's equivalent to like $400 and miles, right? So it's really not that much. To accumulate 27,000 miles is nothing. They're actually doing a promotion right now, 75,000 miles, I believe. If you get a credit card with American Airlines, they gift you 75,000 miles. Okay, so that could actually pay for a round trip ticket to Europe right now. Okay, I'll show you guys how to use those benefits more, how to redeem the miles more. But for today, I just wanted to talk about hub-to-hub routing. That's a very key aspect when you're going to book a flight, and especially choose your airline loyalty. You have to look at hub-to-hub routing and which airline has the biggest hub next to the city where you live. All right? Hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. I'll be doing a lot more videos soon about everything, about traveling, about the stock market, about aviation. You know, this is just what I love to do, so I want to share my passion with everyone else. All right? Thanks for watching.